And I don't get why GM is building an amazing mid-engine, you know, supercar, sports car, exotic car, call it what you want, but the thing should be formidable with such a piece of junk steering wheel. That'd be like making a seat that you can't fit in. What's up, people? So recently I got to have a close look at the new Corvette C8. That's Corvette's new mid-engine generation that's supposed to be built in 2020 and onward. Very excited about the car because it comes in at a very nice base price of about $60,000 plus. So for in the realm of an actual fast mid-engined real world drivable car, I call it a supercar even though a bunch of people are going to yell at me now, okay, but something in the realm of an exotic car or at least an awesome mid-engine sports car, that is fantastic what GM's doing. And with my past experience being a Corvette owner, I think it's something that will probably end up being quite daily drivable, which is like having your cake and eating it too. However, the steering wheel on the car is the biggest piece of automotive design garbage I have ever wrapped my hands around in my life. And to illustrate that, I've got a bunch of steering wheels here that I just grabbed off the race cars and one of my street cars, and I want to talk about that. But my biggest beef with the steering wheel came when I put my hands around it. Now, initially, when you look at it in the Corvette, it looks nice. It's wrapped in attractive leathers, and it's got good details with the emblem, and the steering wheel's not too big, and it's got buttons that are attractive, and it's paddle shifting, okay? And all of those things could be great and be aesthetically pleasing and awesome. But the problem was, when you wrap your hands around it, as you can see, I'm gonna put the video over this, your thumbs can go right on it, no problem. You can put your palms on it, but no adult person with fingers can actually have their fingers go all the way around. So you're stuck kind of palming the steering wheel at 9.3. You cannot wrap it around. And the paddles are they're kind of junk too. I didn't want to pick that apart, but the way the paddles actuate just feels like a really cheap video game system. I mean, there's better video game simulators out there than this real car. And it's an ergonomic disaster. So I'll come back to that, but I want to show you a few things. So let's start with just an average run-of-the-mill production steering wheel. This is actually the stock steering wheel off my 90s Viper. Now, it's not on my car for a reason. It's because it's not ideal. But the funny thing is it's actually better ergonomically than the Corvette steering wheel. Now, I want to make a note for everybody out there going, well, it looks just fine and everybody thinks it's okay. Yeah, okay, it looks pretty. And people that don't really know anything about driving and are just going to hold it at the bottom because they're retired and don't care about going sporty and just want a sports car to feel good about life won't notice. But anybody who actually wants to drive it like a sports car is going to go, this doesn't feel right, even if they don't know why. So I want to talk about that. So anyway, here's kind of a run-of-the-mill one. And your center point, it pivots approximately right where this emblem is. That's the center point, okay? So what you see that's interesting, your thumbs will go on right here, exactly 9.3. And 9.3 position is effectively the most efficient way to turn a steering wheel, okay? I know in driver's ed, they teach you 10.2, 10.2, or 9.3. 10.2's not as acceptable. It has a different ergonomic feature. It has some merit, like if you need to get your arms up higher and you need to put more torque on the steering wheel, like if you're driving an old truck or something with no power steering, you might need to be here to like muscle it down. But for any race car driver, or the most efficient way is 9.3, because you can turn the steering wheel the farthest amount without actually having to take your hands off. Do you see that? Let me show you, let me illustrate that. So here's 9.3, right? I can turn it, that's 180 degrees right there. I can turn it more than 180 degrees. I can almost go another 90 without actually taking my hands off. And that's why it's so efficient. If I go 10.2 or I come up here, I can only turn it 180 degrees before I'm starting to like break my wrists, okay? 180 degrees, like that. There's your 180 degrees, that's at 10.2, and that feels like garbage. If I'm at 9.3, I can turn the steering wheel more than 180 degrees without hurting myself. I just got my thumb right here, but that's why in a race car or any sports car driver, let's say you're driving and the rear end steps out, I can correct real easy, no problem. And if the thing's really wonk, it's like you're coming over, you hit a hydroplane, and so you're understeering like this, and then it snaps oversteer, I can come like this. That's why 9.3 on a race car is important. But the problem is, with the Corvette, And I want to show you. So, and frankly and I got rid of the steering wheel for this reason. This isn't so bad with the thumb hooks, and I can get my palm to wrap around okay. But when you put your fingers on it, see this right here? My fingers, there's a gap, there's an air gap. I can't actually touch the steering wheel, and I'm just resting against this cheap plastic here with two of my fingers. I can kind of wrap my, index finger around and my pinky, but these are really important, and I can't wrap it around. So if I want to get that full feel of the steering wheel, which is hugely important for a racing driver, just to sense all those little undulations and that exact surface of grip, you want to have a nice grip on your steering wheel the whole way around where all of the tactile feel and all the senses in your fingertips can sense that. But when you're stuck down here with like something designed by some dumb designer out of school who doesn't know how to drive a car or do any sports and knows nothing about ergonomics or feeling, I can't wrap my hands around. I'm losing literally all the tactile sense of my fingers. So what I'm forced to do is come up here to 10.2, which, as we just found, doesn't allow me to turn the wheel as fast, and I go 180 degrees and I'm already hurting my wrist. I can have more tactile feel here, but I no longer have the ability to correct fast. So if you want a steering wheel to work properly in any car, and I don't care if it's a truck or a minivan or a new Ferrari, and certainly the Corvette, you need to be able to be at 9.3 and be able to wrap your fingers around and have a good tactile feel. That allows you to correct and turn the wheel the most, if need be. And of course, you can do the shuffling thing like everyday driving. But that's what you need. You need the tactile feel to be able to wrap your fingers around. And 9.3. The other reason it's important to be able to put your fingers all the way around is you can have a more delicate grip, so you have less driver fatigue and more feel. The hooks for your thumb are kind of important too, because your thumbs are strong to pull, so they give you a lot there, and you have the feeling, whereas if you go up to 10.2, you also lose the ability for your thumb to mechanically lock here. Now, some of you guys may know about like, okay, well, if race car drivers are about to hit the wall, they take their hands off the steering wheel, so if the steering wheel goes like this, they don't break their thumbs or something. That's true, but let's not worry about that right now, okay? So let's put this steering wheel aside. But I think that's starting to give you guys a reason of why I absolutely despise the Corvette C8 steering wheel. And I'm just going on record of saying it was either designed by or led by a team of a person who either knows nothing of driving or performance or ergonomics or interfacing with the human body, or simply just doesn't care about the buyer and wants to make a whiz-bang, zingy, pretty thing and thinks everybody's an idiot. Both of those two things are bad. The other thing I want to make mention, and the reason why I'm making this kind of a big deal, a lot of you guys responded to my video and say, well, Casey, that's no big deal. There's going to be aftermarket steering wheels. Not really, guys. Do you know how many buttons GM has on that steering wheel, including the paddles, including the airbag, including the horn? That is a lot for a steering wheel. The modern era in cars, they're making it harder to change radios and steering wheels, which stinks. Because it would be an insane amount of work to be able to make a new steering wheel and make it better. I could have designed it so easily for GM to have a beautiful steering wheel that actually functions right. I don't know why they did this. I mean, I know I'm on a huge sidebar rant, but how many millions of dollars are you guys blowing on crap? Okay, sidebar over. Let's go to racing here again. So here is a very generic racing steering wheel. This is the Momo Monte Carlo, typical to the 1980s, still utilized today. And this one's wrapped in suede. It's an old one from a race car I had. And then I put it in the Genius Garage Corvette, kind of like a donating my old steering wheel kind of a thing. So it's got a quick release, which is irrelevant to racing. But ergonomics and function of a driver in racing is absolutely critical. And that is a great place to learn ergonomics and driving and steering wheel function, all that for a street car. That's where racing is still relevant. So in this regard, I want you guys to see how the hand interfaces here at 9.3. Obviously, this is the center point. That's where it turns right there in the middle. I've got the thumb hooks. I can wrap that around. But what's nice about this steering wheel versus that Viper OEM steering wheel, I can wrap my ring finger and my pinky finger can nicely wrap the whole way around without much of any bother. My index fingers can wrap all the way around before they hit that, so I have full tactile feel. And my middle finger gets full tactile wraparound up to this first knuckle here. So there's only a little bit of a bother. So I effectively, and this is kind of just a generic racing steering wheel from the 80s. They weren't trying that hard, okay? Like, I got a Fittipaldi one in my Viper. I'll put a picture here right now. An old Emerson Fittipaldi endorsed personal wheel, and that's really nice. It's got great thumb hooks. You can really wrap the whole way around, and it's leather, so it wears. That's why I've got that old steering wheel in my Viper. It's the best one I've found to give me the full tactile feel efficiently. So this still allows me to wrap around really well. So I can have a very, very delicate, easy grip on the steering wheel for driving a street car, but at any moment, shoom, 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 full, immediate ability to correct or drive sport. That's a major safety feature. That Corvette steering wheel, if you got a C8 Corvette way out of shape, the steering wheel's crap. If it's going around like this in a street car steering ratio, you're trying to catch it. The other thing is, the steering wheel in the C8's not even round. So if it's spinning around all like this and you're trying to correct big oversteer, you don't know where you're grabbing because it's flat here and there. And they didn't even optimize the C8 Corvette steering wheel to be able to do this because you can't even stick your hands around it, okay? So I think this is painting a picture for how that is. And I also wanted to get into the buttons and the paddles. So just an example. This is just a Momo Monte Carlo old school steering wheel. You might have seen them in some old 80s, late 80s Ferraris as stock. Gives you an example of why that's a good thing. So now here, this steering wheel, let's see, does it even have a name? I don't think so. This came out of the Genius Garage tame little prototype car. It's small. And in a small race car, you can have a smaller steering wheel. It's more efficient because you don't have to move your hands as far. They're lightweight. They don't require as much leverage to turn them. So that's why race cars have these tiny steering wheels. And also formula cars, it's very tight in there, so you don't have much room. But this one is beautiful because if you look right here, there's a ridge. And that allows me to put my thumbs here. I can wrap my full palm around. But when I go like this, so index and ring finger and pinky finger, I wrap around no problem. My ring finger is here, but if you notice, look at that. I can get my middle finger here and almost wrap all the way around without hitting this. So the way I could make this steering wheel almost perfect is if I undid the leather right here on the back side and I unwrapped that and I took all the padding out here and kind of smooth this away, that would allow you to wrap your fingers around all the way and still have that really efficient 9/3 that gives you more than 180 degrees of correction without taking your hands off, doing it real fast, but that full tactile feel. And that's where the Corvette has totally failed because it has these giant lugs right here, like many street cars do, and you can't put your hands around it. If you want to get your fingertips on it, then you end up with a big air gap. See that? And you have no tactile feel on the Corvette steering wheel, or you have to go like this. But in the Corvette, it's impossible to go like this because there's that paddle is in the way right here. So you literally have to drive the Corvette like this with your hand like that, or like this, which is total garbage in the Corvette. And then you have, and the paddles feel like garbage anyway, but whatever, who cares at that point? So let's get on to the Champ car, this steering wheel here. Now, this car makes 840 horsepower at the wheels, 6,000 plus pounds of downforce, and is an absolute rocket ship. The mid-90s, the late 90s, they still had a sequential stick shift right here, so you go boom, 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 downshift like that. So this steering wheel, much the same as the last one you saw. It's got a Motec here with all your lights to shift, so that, that's all on there. And in this kind of car with such a quick ratio, you're never going to have to turn more than this on it. You're never going to have to take your hands off, and that's important, okay? But same kind of thing here. It's a little deeper. So on this, I can get my fingers all the way around very naturally without bending them. So I can have a more delicate grip or squeeze tightly and have all the strength of my arms and hands going directly into that steering wheel, all the feel from the car, the suspension, the tires going directly to my fingertips and being perfect. And that's what's so great about a wheel like this. And that's where manufacturers of sports cars are completely screwing up. The latest Dodge Viper that I got in, those ACRs and whatnot of the newest ones, their steering wheels suck. They ruin the car also. If I ever buy one of those, I'm getting rid of the steering wheel. I don't care if it has an airbag at that point. I'm going to make a new steering wheel and interface all the electronics. If I ever get a Corvette C8, I'm just going to have to plan in the budget my time to make a new steering wheel because what they've got is total garbage. And the sad thing to me as an automotive, engineer, designer, teacher, and enthusiast, virtually all manufacturers, with the exception of like Ferrari and Lamborghini and the really good exotics, are making garbage steering wheels. They have those big lugs, buttons in stupid places, and you can't hold them or grip them because they're, I assume, being designed by designers that know nothing of performance driving or ergonomics. It's a joke. I don't get it. And I don't get why GM is building an amazing mid-engine, You know, a supercar, sports car, exotic car, call it what you want, but the thing should be formidable with such a piece of junk steering wheel. That'd be like making a seat that you can't fit in or has a giant bump in the middle of your back or something. Come on. So, but I will knock this steering wheel for the IndyCar. One problem is your buttons are down here, which is a terrible place for buttons, okay? This is the radio, which means when you're driving the car, you have to take your palm off the steering wheel and push the button. That's going to add to a lot of driver fatigue. Really, the radio button should be right here, and we'll probably move it. So you want the least amount of finger movement or controls to be able to operate buttons. This is for page, mode, and alarm. Frankly, none of these are very important unless you're in the pits. You really just need the radio. And then your other controls in the Champ car, such as sway bar adjustment, is over here. That's mechanical. The shifter is over here, and you've got other buttons to turn off and whatnot there, but you can see your whole display. So really, this radio button should not be here. It should be up here, so you don't have to take your palm off. You should have to do the least amount of movements possible. And on the new Corvette C8, that's exactly the problem we had with the buttons there. You'll notice if I hold it down low, like I'm a retired person that's just cruising and I'm never actually going to drive it fast, well then you can put your fingers up like on the Corvette and push the buttons okay. But if you put it up at 9.3, the buttons are way down here. So you got to like take your hand off to push the buttons. Stupid. The paddles on the Corvette are okay if you have your hands at 9.3, but as we know on the Corvette, you can't even put your hands at 9.3 because you can't wrap your fingers around. They could have easily just mounted the paddle another inch and a half in on the Corvette and had them come out farther, actuate, and be a little taller. Then you could wrap your fingers around and go, or whatever you want to do there. But the problem is on the Corvette C8, the only way you can get that tactile feel is to move your hands up, and I'll get a bigger steering wheel to show. On the Corvette C8, the only way you can get the full tactile feel and wraparound of your fingers is if you move your hands up to the 10-2 position. But that's not where steering wheels should be designed to hold, because as we've talked about, at the 10-2 position, I can only really turn it about this far before I'm hurting my wrists. That's the most correcting you have, and you can only really correct about 90 degrees efficiently and fast without really kind of putting your tendons at the max. Doesn't feel good. But at 9.3, we can go more than 180 degrees of correction very efficiently. So frankly, all sports car steering wheels need to be designed to be at 9.3 and utilize the paddles. So in the Corvette, you move up here for the tactile feel, and now you got to use your pinky fingers to hit the paddle shifters on the Corvette, which is idiotic because your pinky finger and your ring finger are garbage for a race car. You need to be these trigger fingers or your thumb. That's why on a fighter jet, all the controls for the radios or guidance or missiles or lock and everything are these fingers here, okay? Those are your best ones. So, the Corvette steering wheel, it may look pretty in pictures, but in terms of ergonomics, in terms of layout for the person, in terms of efficiencies of driving, safety, tactile, it is a complete and unmitigated, abominable pile of garbage disaster. And if that sounds too strong for you, then learn to drive a sports car. I'm sorry, but I just cannot figure out how a major automobile manufacturer can make something that bad. I would be happy to fix it for you. I'm making you a deal right now. Let the leader of Genius Garage design you a gorgeous steering wheel. I'll work with that. I'll work with your designers. It'll be beautiful. Let's make lemonade out of lemons and just make this better. But I'm just appalled. Like, what? Who let that happen? How do you people have jobs? That's just me. Okay. Well, I hope you guys learned something. But aftermarket's going to be too hard to do. So manufacturers really need to step up their game and make good steering wheels. They need to design it so you can put your hands at 9.3. That's the most efficient place for any driver, whether you're sport driving or just cruising. It's the safest place. It's just the best place the whole way around. They need to put buttons in a spread in this area here on either side to where you can do them with your thumbs, okay? And if they're buttons that are less important for ever track driving and you're just cruising or whatnot, typically people leave their left hand on and do things over here. They take their right hand off. So people get accustomed to driving with their left hand. So maybe put the buttons down here, okay? And the paddles, you got to give people room to be able to put their fingers the whole way around and go and hit them with these three fingers. Basically, the three fingers that you draw a bowstring with, those are the same fingers you should be popping paddles with, those three. Or even just one of them. And make sure the buttons you use have a good tactile feel. Okay, designers? So anyway, that is my rant slash lesson slash lecture slash scolding. I hope you guys learned something about race cars and steering wheels, and I think this should be helpful. But for all of you young people out there and drivers, 9.3 is the best position, not 10.2. That's garbage. And that's all I got, guys. I hope you will like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.